Welcome to the D-Shift podcast, where we provide inspiration, motivation, and education to help you transition from the challenges of divorce to discover the freedom and ability to live life on your own terms. Are you ready? Let's get this shift started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the D-Shift podcast. And I am really honored to have a fellow Canadian on with me today. Kavita Ahuja is a phenomenal individual. Her and I are on another platform called Cool Life, which some of you are familiar with. It's an amazing platform for women who are 45 plus. But Kavita is a certified women's career and life transition coach. She's a podcast host of the Midlife Reinvention, and she's founder of It's My Time Now coaching. And I just love the whole concept of that. And Kavita's goal is really to empower women who are going through, middle life transformation to find their passion and power and their joy and align with that in all that they're doing. So Kavita, welcome.
It's such a pleasure to be here, Mardi. I really appreciate the invitation. And I love what you do and how you are here to support women and inspire them and educate them as they're going through this important, and difficult transition in their lives. So kudos to what you do as well. So thank you for having me on the show.
Well, thank you. And I think that, your topic and my topic, your coaching passion and mine kind of mesh because, one of the highest, not that this is necessarily a positive thing, but one of the highest populations or the biggest growth in populations of people going through divorce is in women 55 and up, what they call the gray divorce or the silver divorce or whatever people want to call it. And I think a lot of it has to do is because women just don't feel fulfilled necessarily in staying in a relationship that's not satisfactory. But before we get into talking about that, Kavita, let's talk a little bit about you. How did you get inspired into doing what you're doing? Because I know this is a transition you made as well.
Yes, it absolutely is. Thank you for asking. Mardi, I got into this work because of my own, as you mentioned, my own transition in life. And before I tell you about this, I want to really emphasize to the listeners that this transition phase that you may be going through, I would really like you to view it as an opportunity. It's an incredible invitation, really, to unlock. There's a quote I often say. It's an incredible invitation to unlock the enormous potential that is resident within me, and that is from Linda Rossetti, who I've trained with. And that's what I actually, if I go back to why I'm doing this, why I'm helping women through these transitions, whether it's divorce, whether it's career, whatever it is because I believe there's that enormous potential. And so just to go back, I was in a long-term corporate career for about 25 years. Everything was going well. On the outside, everything seemed kind of perfect, but there was a voice inside of me around the time I turned 50 that said that there's something more that I needed to do. Something wasn't quite right. And I had so much more like potential within me that I needed to explore. And I think, as you're saying, women who are listening, if they feel that way, then it's really important to listen to that voice. So, like I said, it wasn't a sudden thing. It was just kind of it started, and then it got more. That voice got louder and louder, and I decided that I was going to heed that voice. So I left my corporate career, and I decided to go and embark on this exciting journey, which is often scary, and because we have all these fears about what are we going to do now, what's next. But I figured it out, and I found that my passion was really to help women like you are going through these transitions and really understanding who they are, what is it really inside that they really want, what are they passionate about, what are their strengths, what are they valuing right now, and how do they put that all together in the path forward. So that's really it. It started from my career transition. At the same time, of course, Marty. I was going through, menopause, and so health changes. My kids were leaving the home, so now I was an empty nester. So a lot of changes, a lot of transitions occurring at once. And I honestly believe if I was going to repeat that, is that look at it as an opportunity, and that's what I did. And I'm so happy now. I'm so fulfilled, and I love helping women through this process. It really is really fulfilling.
Yeah, it's a very different experience. I mean, there's a certain amount of accomplishment and satisfaction and even enjoyment in having a good corporate career. I mean, there's a lot of security, let's face it, there is. And especially when you work your way up the ladder and you're doing well. And I'm curious, did you face, and I'm not asking you to name any names here, but did you face any sort of naysayers who said, why are you doing this? Like, why are you throwing that all away? Why don't you stay with job security? Or, because I know I did. So I'm just curious. Like, and a lot of them, I think, were very well meaning. But I was at that time, I was, I in my 50s, I wasn't single, but I was a caregiver for my husband. And so I got so much of this. Why aren't you, why are you doing this now? Why are you making these changes?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel a lot of your women get that, or you did?
Oh my goodness, 100%. And that honestly, that is why people stay where they are.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is that because of that. And I did experience that. And I experienced that from people who were very close to me, in fact. And, not only my good friends, my family, and certainly my parents, because the reason is, and as you said, it wasn't ill intended. It was more because they wanted me to be safe, right? They knew that they looked as I said, from the outside, it seemed, why would she be doing that? Everything looks perfect. She's doing well, And then they question that because they wanted me to be comfortable, and they wanted me to be happy. And that is it's what holds a lot of women back. And it did hold me back. Honestly, I didn't make the change for 3 years because of those outer voices and the inner voices, the inner critic that was telling me, okay, maybe I'm being crazy. Maybe I shouldn't do this because, we don't know what's going to happen. Right. And so it's these inner and outer critics that try to keep us in our comfort zone.
Yeah.
And the only way to change and transform yourself and grow is to move out of that zone.
Yeah. And I the first time that I really started thinking about this is from another Cool Life member who I talked to, Dr. Andrea Slominski. And, she talks about the age of regency, and we're really the first group of women who can be independent, who have, 1975, women couldn't get a credit card without a man's signature until 1975. Like, I mean, you could, but lenders weren't required to provide that. It was at their disposal. So it hasn't been that many years where a woman, especially a woman in her 50s or 60s, would even think about starting her own business or striking out on her own, or becoming, creating a foundation or volunteering. I mean, it just wasn't done before.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're paving the way, and I think it's fantastic. And I think a lot of it, I don't know if you saw this in your practice, but I think a lot of it has come from the pandemic as well. Not only, now we're questioning, okay, well, maybe I don't have to do the 2-hour commute to a job that I really don't like. Right. Or, and so that kind of also, I think, really played into that for women as well, as it's like, I can pursue things that maybe I never thought I could ever pursue before. Right.
Yeah. And so I agree with you, because I think the pandemic just escalated the use of technology and remote work and, people kind of striking off on their own. So I know that you work with women. When do you, or how do you find your clients come to you? Like, do they recognize something within themselves and then they think, I need some help with that? Or how do they come to your coaching services?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I think there's there's commonalities and there's words that trigger people reaching out for help or for assistance or for guidance. And that's when the words are, I'm really stuck. I
Mm-hmm.
feel stuck. I'm not really sure what to do next. I'm not really confident in myself or my abilities. I don't even know what I want to do. There's too many possibilities. I don't even know what I want to do. What will people say? Like we just talked about. I don't think I'm qualified enough, which, all these things that are in their heads, and then they just need, it's like a guide or an accountability partner to shine into them, like what is so great about you, like, and a lot of the women don't even recognize who are coming to me don't even recognize the great things they've done. Honestly, they don't recognize, they don't appreciate, they don't celebrate it. And
Yeah.
so my job as a coach is to shine a light on what they already have, the great things that are already in them, within them, and bring that out. And then, find out a way where they can create a life in their next phase of life that they're going to be joyful, they're going to be fulfilled. So it's the triggers. And like I said, it's also becomes a point where, do I stay where I am? If I'm happy staying where I am, am I happy staying where I am, or is it worth staying where I am versus changing? You know,
Right.
and if I know that it's worse to stay where I am, then I need assistance or guidance to help me get out of this phase or this transition.
Right.
And usually, if you're talking about like kind of like there's three parts to a transition, right? So there's a trigger, right? And then there is a decision, and then there's an action. So triggers can be a divorce. Triggers can be maybe a layoff. Maybe you're laid off. Maybe it's a health scare. So those kind of triggers also, people who are going through that, maybe they're like, oh my God, now what do I do? So those can be reasons that people reach out to me. And then once you have those triggers, it's a decision. What do I want to do now? Or am I going to do anything about it? Or am I just going to stay the way I am? And then it's about action. And so that's, I think, as coaches, we really encourage the action, because you can talk a lot and think about it, but unless you actually take the steps forward to move in the direction that it's going to be good for you, then nothing's going to happen, right? So I don't know if that
Yeah.
answered your question, but
No, that's
yeah.
great. And that's really a simple and clear and concise way that trigger decision action. And you can get stuck anywhere. I mean, it sounds so simple, but you can get
Yeah,
stuck
I know.
anywhere in that. And I agree with you. I think a lot of times, like even for the divorce, there's a cost to staying in a relationship that's not good. There's a cost
Mm-hmm.
to getting out of a relationship, and you almost have to do that cost analysis, cost benefit analysis,
Yes.
and make a
Yeah.
decision. And it's the same thing with changing your career, changing your direction at any point in time in life. You really have to evaluate that, and having somebody from the outside who can ask those questions, not tell you what to
Mm-hmm.
do, but ask the questions that get you to really think about it. That's where the
Mm-hmm.
power in working with a reinvention coach
Mm-hmm.
is so helpful.
Yes, yes, that's true. Thank you. And I will say also that a lot of the women who come to me for guidance, um, sometimes it's about being in a long-term situation, like whether it's a long-term marriage or a long-term career, and there becomes that questioning at this
Mhm.
stage of our life as to whether this is what I want to do, or this is the relationship I want to be in for
Right.
the rest of my life. That's just yeah. But it's also come, and I think that's why at this stage, 45 plus, this is a really important stage. Also, hormonally, things happen where that it's time. It's incumbent upon us to reevaluate where we are.
Yeah.
And as I said before, it could be a trigger, or it could just be like I went through, kind of in a slow kind of voice that inside of us.
Right.
So.
And
Mhm.
I always think to myself, like, if it is something, let's say it's menopause, because women get a little wacky in menopause. I'll admit, myself, like there's just things that we're just not doing things exactly the right way sometimes. And you don't want to make a rushed decision based on something that you haven't really fully explored, whether it's leaving a relationship or leaving a job or starting something new. You want to make sure that you have a clear path of how you're going to go forward. And just having somebody to bounce those ideas off is so valuable. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I think it is. I'm glad you mentioned that, because it can be something. It has to be a clear path, and you can do it yourself. Like you can try and figure it out yourself, but like you said, you need somebody to bounce things off of, but also kind of somebody who has kind of a clear, like some tools also, right? Okay, let's do this in a kind of a process. So I do have a process which I take, my clients through. It's called the pyramid of reinvention. How do we even go about doing that? So it's about figuring out, what are your real strengths? What are your passions right now? Like, what have you done, like when you were a kid, that maybe you forgot about, and now it's like, oh well, maybe I'd like to pursue writing or art, or and maybe that's what I want to pursue moving forward. And it's about values, as I said. And there's a term also that I take that I really really love. It's called ikigai, which is your reason for being. I don't know if you've heard of that term, but yes. So it really is a Japanese term, which is called, the reason for being, and it's a culmination of all those things. So if you really do find it's more than purpose. It's about, why are you here, and how can you contribute to the world, right? And so those questions are big, but if you follow a step-by-step process, you can actually, it's quite rewarding to figure that out. So.
Well, and I really believe that women and men, to a certain extent, there's so much to do when you're younger. You've got to get started. You get your high school degree, you go to college, you go to university, you get that job, you marry, you buy the house, you have the kids. Now you're mom and full-time worker, and things just keep piling on, that your ability to do those things that you enjoy often gets put way, way, way on the back burner, like 5 back burners back. And then all of a sudden, when you start to get closer to retirement, it's sort of like, after the kids leave the house and all that kind of stuff, all of a sudden this time starts coming back to you. And it can feel like, what do I do with this time now? Because I've let all those things that I loved. And I thought that was so great how you said, go back and look at those passions that maybe you had to put aside because of your other commitments, during your midlife time prior. Yeah.
Well, Marty, I'm sure you'll agree with this. Maybe, I'm sure you've coached lots of women who, what happens really, especially when we, in this stage, like throughout our life, as you said, we are giving, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine. Like, we give to our kids, our spouses, our parents, our employers, and there's very little time at the end of the day to ourselves. And so, as you said, that's why I actually named my coaching program, It's My Time Now, because it is our time now to figure out what we really want for ourselves. It's not being selfish. And a lot of women say, well, maybe it's a time and investment in ourselves. It's so important. It's really so important, because we have more time possibly than we did before, and use that time to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Time. So.
And are you finding too that women are, or maybe it's just the women I work with, so tell me if you're experiencing this, where women like 55, 60, maybe even 65 are not thinking about retirement at all. They are thinking about maybe, traveling, or maybe working part-time, or writing a book, or doing a podcast, or in other words, they're not ready to just sit back and sit in a lawn chair and experience their golden years. They really want to start a nonprofit, all these kind of things where that's not something that women traditionally did, say,
Yeah.
30 or 40 years ago, but
Yeah.
that's something I see more and more now.
Yeah. I think that's so awesome, don't you?
Yeah. Oh,
I think it's
I
really
think it's
incredible.
fantastic.
And those are the type of women I love to work with, because
Yeah.
and they're the ones who are motivated to, I mean, it's okay to sit in the long chair, and fine, you should, like, take time, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, if you really want to do something in your life moving forward that's different, or, that maybe scares you a little bit, even, that pushes you outside of your zone of comfort, that will help you grow, that will give back to the community, um, why not do it?
Yeah.
And I do. That those are the women who come to me, because otherwise they wouldn't need, they wouldn't need our help. They wouldn't need our help to guide them as to, well, what should I do, and how do I even approach this?
Exactly.
So I think those are the type of women I love to work with, because they are motivated to, um, do something. And I love the fact that, one of the things I do is I do a visioning exercise with my clients. And you may have heard of this term called the inner mentor. I don't know if you've heard of that
No.
term. So an inner mentor is you, like you, we have outer mentors, right? We have, your managers or outside mentors, but inner mentor is you in your future. So how do you actually visualize her in really detail, and how, so you can, what does she look, what is she saying to you, what has she gone through, and how do you get from where you are today to her? So it's a very powerful thing to
Yeah.
be able to give yourself the permission, to visualize yourself in the future.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see how that would be a really good technique and tool to use. Kavita,
Yeah.
before we get off this call, I would like you to talk a little bit about your podcast, because for a lot of the women that are listening that are going, well, I'd like to learn a little bit more. I think your podcast is fantastic, first of all.
Oh,
So
thank you. Thank you so
share a
much.
little bit about it so that women who are listening and thinking, oh, I might like to learn a little bit about this,
Oh, no,
get a
I
taste of it.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yes. So my podcast is called the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. And I actually started that. It's been like, this is the fourth year now. So it's been, I started it because I really wanted, to hear women's stories of their own reinvention. And these aren't like famous women, they're everyday women who have reinvented their lives post 45, who are doing, like we just talked, everything we just talked about. They're the ones who share their stories of what kind of obstacles did they go through. How did they get the courage to leave a career, or to, leave a marriage, or whatever transition or reinvention they went through. So it's about telling their stories. It's about having these kind of conversations where I always learn something every conversation, and it's gives inspiration to the listeners who are considering what their next steps are, to have as a guiding light. As if that woman can do it, why can't I? And
Yeah.
so there's interviews, and then there's solo episodes as well. And in the solo episodes, I really go through my process. I talk about my own personal reinvention story, my own transitions, practical tools that you can use to go through this in a positive way. And it's fun. I'm still having a great time. It's 140 episodes, I think, and I'm just still enjoying it. And it's
Wonderful.
growing, and I love it. And I just think I just love the fact that hearing other people's stories is really an inspiration,
Yeah.
for me. For
Yeah.
me, I don't know about you, but that's probably why you're doing it as well. So so it's called the Midlife Reinvention, and I would invite anyone listening to take a listen. I'd love that.
Yeah. And I will make
Yes.
sure that information gets in the show notes to link to that. Kavita, of everything that you've shared with us, what do you think is kind of the one takeaway you'd like people to keep top of mind?
Yes. Thank you for asking. I really think that this transition that you're going through, whatever it may be, whether it's, divorced or life transitions, it can be very difficult. I think it's an opportunity for you to have the outlook that this is not the end. This is the beginning. This is an opportunity for you to rediscover who you are. And so I would say I would look at it as a positive and an opportunity. It's not a crisis, it's an opportunity. And that's why I always say, if not now, when?
Exactly.
It's your time now. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I would say that, look at it as an opportunity.
Love that. If people do want to, other than the podcast, if people want to reach out and maybe talk to you, find out how they can work with you, what's the best way to reach you?
Absolutely. So my best way is to go onto my website. It's mytimenowcoaching.com. And in there, you can also, I'm happy to offer the listeners a breakthrough session, a 45-minute free breakthrough session. We can talk about what you're going through. I can offer you suggestions, and that's why we call it breakthrough, because it's kind of like, oh, wow, I didn't ever thought that I could even think of to do that, right? So I'm offering that to your listeners. My email is Kavita, Kavita, at itsmytimenowcoaching.com. But the best way is my website, and you can find my podcast. All the episodes are on my website as well, and also on your Apple, Spotify, and all the
right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Kavita, thank you so much for being here. I mean, this has been a very enjoyable conversation, and I think it's been inspirational and also given some practical tips for people. So thank you for women listening in. So thank you so much.
I appreciate being on the show, Marty. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for listening in to The D Shift. And don't forget to tune in for the next episode. Thanks for listening and supporting the D Shift podcast. If you would like to attend live trainings by our amazing guests and have a chance to ask questions and get answers from our experts, join the D Shift crew. For more details and to sign up, head on over to www.divorcecoachforwomen and click on the podcast page.